On my last post, I got a lot of comments and a lot of questions around how to reduce food waste at home, how to be more mindful, how to treat certain ingredients, what are the techniques, what are kind of ideas to reduce food waste at home. So I wanted to make this video to try and summarize as much information as I can when it comes to techniques, when it comes to purchasing behavior, when it comes to trying to understand what is the best decision to make in particular steps of our experience with food to try and reduce to the minimum the amount of food that is wasted. So I'm going to go straight in. I prepared these 8 steps to reduce food waste. So it's divided into 3 different kind of categories. One is buying the ingredients, the other one is cooking the ingredients, and the third one is preserving the ingredients. Okay, so when it comes to buying, first of all, buy less. Try to buy less. Try to really kind of be frugal in the way you relate to your cravings. Sometimes we tend to be to crave more than we actually need, and that happens in restaurants very often, and we order big portions and we leave half of the food in our plates, especially in certain countries. Portions are way too big, way more than you can eat. So share plates, share portions, but also kind of even at home, I would say, like when it comes to serving yourself, just serve yourself what you know you're going to eat, and then you can always pour more, right? So that's kind of this approach of consuming wisely and consuming less in general. Second thing, buy local. When you buy local, it often means that there's less food loss on the supply chain. There's 2 things in food waste. One is the food that is lost when it's transported from from the farm to your table, and the other one is kind of the things that are wasted by us as consumers, right? So buy local. I think that really makes a big difference. Third thing, choose the ugly ingredients. Sometimes we're kind of driven by our eyes, and we want everything to look perfect because that's what we see in commercials, that's what we see in television, that's what we see, and we're always craving for this visual perfection when really we're kind of sometimes disconnected from our senses. So smell things, taste things, and really just go for the ugly things. Sometimes it tastes better even. So that's one important thing. Fourth thing when it comes to purchasing and getting your food is plan better. Do a week plan. You don't need to spend hours on it. It's just like 5 minutes. Okay, what am I going to eat tomorrow, the next day, on Sunday? I'm going to prepare this. Make a plan, and that's going to allow you to know more of how to manage your pantry, basically. Home economics, right? It's something that used to be taught at schools, and we kind of lost it somewhere along the way in the 20th century, and we need to bring it back. The fifth thing, so it comes to the second aspect of reducing food waste. The first one was about purchasing and kind of how we relate to consuming. The second one is about cooking, okay? And this applies for you at home, but also for food professionals, okay? Let's cook root to flour. Let's use the whole part of the ingredients. We're losing a lot of food that is completely edible, packed with nutrition, because we don't realize that there's a lot of forgotten parts of vegetables. Okay, so this is the last post, and what we did with Rodrigo advocated with Rodrigo on the final table was really lifting up humble ingredients, humble parts of vegetables, right? Just as we finish, I'm going to show you something here in the garden. That's why I'm here. So really kind of use, if you're using fish, fin to scale, right? Everything is edible. You can make broth with things that would otherwise go to waste. So don't only go for the fat, for the nice part. Use it all and honor the ingredient in its entirety. The sixth thing, very important, it's deconditioning yourself and your mindset. Things like ugly, we tend to think it's bad. It's not true. There's a lot of techniques that are very wasteful. Let's decondition ourselves. And here I'm talking to the food professionals as well. Sometimes we're told, oh, this is the best part. Oh, this is how you should do it. Question that. Why are we wasting this part? every time that you interact, you need to be mindful and connected. Well, wait, am I using this? Why am I not using that? I got a lot of comments like, can I use the seeds of the pepper? Yes, in every seed of the pepper, there's actually a plant. You can actually put it in the soil and you can grow another plant. Imagine that, right? So there's a lot of food in the seeds. But beyond that, you can also just put it in your mouth. Trust your senses, right? And you can try that. The things that are a bit too hard and kind of hard to chew and they're bitter, of course, that might not be good to eat and that should go to the compost. But really trust your senses. Don't just rely on getting information from professionals or on Google or whatever. Just really trust your intuition. We've evolved for 2 million years, this wonderful sensory apparatus, smell and taste in particular, texture, to know, to recognize, to really be able to tell what's good for our bodies and what's not. So really rely on your humanity, on your senses. And in terms of deconditioning, if you're not sure what if you're not sure if you can use something, you can also just put it in the freezer and eventually put it in the broth. That's kind of very simple. I'm not sure about this peel. I'm not sure about this fruit. Oh, this fruit is going old before it, goes bad. Let's put it in the freezer. And if you can eventually, with a bunch of old fruit, you can make you put it all together, put some sugar on it, and you make a nice marmalade, a nice jam, or a nice brunch, something to put on your pancakes with all the fruit that would otherwise have gone to waste. So be creative. Sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, and you really should see it at that, and see every opportunity, every part to be better as an opportunity to create new things and push yourself. And if something really can't go and can't be saved, just put it to the compost, right? Don't put it in the bin to landfill, because that's going to create methane gas, and it's worse than CO2, methane. And landfills produce a lot of CO2, especially when they have food waste in them. So compost, and if you give it back to the earth, it's not lost. The nutrients go back to the earth. They go feed the other parts of the ecosystem that are so important for resilient life. And then the third part, the seventh and eighth point are to really about preserving. So first, organize your refrigerator. It's like a black hole sometimes, which is like that drawer in the bottom, and we kind of forget of the things that are in there. So just kind of open all the drawers, organize, like systematically organize things in different periods. First in, first out. If you have two batches of tomatoes, put the old tomatoes in front and the new tomatoes in the back. The first one that comes in is the first one to come out, because otherwise we tend to forget. We tend to buy more than we need, and things are just forgotten because they're out of sight. So really organize your refrigerator. Make it a practice to have a clean, organized, neat refrigerator. We can talk more about preserving techniques, but that's going to be for another conversation. And the last one, the last point is just learn, question, be wise, and connect to ancestral wisdom. My grandmother in France lived during the war, in the Second World War here in Europe, and she wouldn't throw anything away because she lived scarcity. She lived hunger. My grandfather had to eat cat here, okay, during the war, and when you go through that experience, you don't waste. You become mindful of how sacred food is when you experience hunger. And think about this. Right now, humanity throws away more food than is needed to solve world hunger. So imagine a world with zero hunger, and it takes you and I and everyone to advocate, to be vocal about this, and to see the beauty in the craft of going zero waste as being a source of wisdom, a source of reconnecting to our ancient human roots. Your great-grandfathers, your ancestors were very mindful about food waste. Remember, go back to your intuition of being a good human and that, you know, when it comes to food waste, and that is really in our past, embedded in our DNA. So tap into that, and honor that ancient wisdom of really zero waste. Thank you for watching, and this is giving me a few ideas, especially for the live cooking class that we're going to do on Sunday. Finally, last point, I actually did a live cooking class with my patrons last year on creativity to reduce food waste. Look it up, it's free. You just go to my Patreon, you scroll down to back to to July or something, and you can go and find that. It's a 2-hour cooking class. We use the stems of the vegetables, we use the leaves, we use the roots, we use the flowers, and you can go watch that. But look at this. You know, the leek. You go to a supermarket and you buy a leek, and it's often this kind of, you know, this long, you know, 1 feet tall kind of vegetable. But the truth of the leek is, this is a true leek. Right. This is the part that you commercialize, that you find in supermarkets, from here to here. This is the whole plant, right? We have 2 kilos of food here. We've already eaten a lot, as you can see here. We've already cut some of these pieces, and we've been eating this without actually consuming it. Tonight I'm making a soup. I'm going to use the whole thing, but you see, we've eaten the stalk of the flower, and now I'm gonna also kind of clean it a little bit, and we're gonna use this plant from the root to the flower. Imagine how much food waste goes even before the supermarket. So we need to reconnect with our human roots, and our human roots are like this leek. They're in the ground, they're connected with the earth. Remember that. Thank you for watching.